What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Max and Chloe in Life is Strange Double Exposure. Give you guys my opinion. I don't know if I'm going to rant. I don't pre-plan these things out very well, so it's possible this video gets pretty messy and pretty like my blood starts boiling and stuff. It's also possible it doesn't. Okay, but what I want to, of course, start off this video by saying is spoilers. Right? We're going to get into spoilers. This is based off pretty much mainly episode 1, maybe a little bit of episode 2, and just wanted to have a full video focused on it. Now look, don't get me wrong. I want to say a couple things kind of, up front. I want to respect pretty much every angle of this, right? And I try to do that in a lot of my videos. I know there are a lot of people that are furious. I know a lot of people have made this the identity of Double Exposure, and in a way, I can respect that. I don't know if I would agree with it, but I can respect people doing it. I know there's people upset. I know there's people that can't get past it. I know there's people that didn't like Chloe in the first place and don't really care, right? That's kind of, I just want to throw that out where it's like I'm aware of the different ways of looking at it. And I guess my way is I'm definitely not a fan, and we're going to talk about it. I'm not a fan of what they did. I don't think it makes or breaks the game, at least not yet. Like, the thing is, we haven't seen episodes 3 through 5. There's a lot of her trauma and things in her journal or things she could still say or still do. Or, we have already a couple times where when she's sleeping or whatever it might be, she hears the past. She hears some of the classic Chloe and Max conversations that they had in the first game. There's more of that can happen. And so it's hard to fully judge it now. But what I can judge now is that decision and also how it played out. And for me, and I've said this before, for me, it was always a matter of how they break up versus like them breaking up at all. I think they could break up. I've said this before, but let me just quickly kind of recap that. When you make the decision to kill off a town and kill all of these people versus saving your childhood best friend, there's gonna be something there after. It's not just rainbows and unicorns afterwards. There can very easily be struggles in that relationship. And what I wanted was some sort of breakdown where Max was kind of living too much in the past and Chloe was living like, okay, well, you got to move on, or even vice versa, something with that kind of struggle of letting things go. Now, what's interesting, if you go back to my past videos, they kind of did that, but I do think they did it wrong. I think they actually chose the wrong choices. So what I'm talking about here is, well, number one, it's just simply they broke up, right? We're high school sweethearts or not high school sweethearts, and for me, it's, well, they didn't even go to high school together. So, like, I know it's a saying. I know it's a quick way you put in a dialogue box. I understand that. But it's just not a good way of representing what Chloe, like, to boil down Max and Chloe's relationship to we're high school sweethearts is ridiculous. And, I mean, we saw that before. We knew that part was coming. But, there were other, you could think other things are coming after it, right? Well, maybe there's more questions that can go more in depth. Honestly, the next question is even worse because it's, well, what happened? And it's, we broke up or she died. And that's it. We broke up or she died. And for it to boil down to that just hurts. It really, I think it's disrespectful to the ending of Life is Strange. I think it's disrespectful to their relationship with each other. Now, what I really want to focus on, okay, again, it's not that they did break up. I think they could have broken up. I think, Chloe, I know the whole free spirit thing has been like a thing that they've said. Chloe's a free spirit in the sense that I do think she latches on really easily and maybe wrongly. But she's not a free spirit where, she wants to, I don't know, where she wants to like travel the freaking world in her mid to late 20s and, Max is holding her back and all. Like that kind of angle or aspect of being a free spirit, I don't think is accurate, right? I think free spirit as in, she jumps around. Like Max was her anchor along with her dad, William. Then when he died and she left, she latched onto Rachel. And then when Rachel went missing, she latched back onto Max. Now, that's only a couple people, but she does have a history of latching on, right? So, like, in that way, I kind of understand it. So the thing that I was actually really upset with, and this isn't even more about Chloe, it's actually a little bit more about Max. There's a couple times where Max says something or we see something that indicates that Max used her power in between Life is Strange 1 and Double Exposure. And I guess it's possible she didn't, but it's certainly from the way Max sounds and the way that those texts read, because Chloe seems very adamant on like, well, if you do something wrong, you could always just reverse time and I wouldn't even know it and you could fix it. And, Max responds by saying things like, I would never do that ever, ever, ever. But even in Chloe's like breakup message, there's always this theme. And I guess, okay, if I were to look at it from the angle that Chloe is almost paranoid that at any time in their relationship, if something goes wrong, Max could fix it. And Chloe believes that, but Max would never actually do it. That's actually a little bit interesting. But if it is true that Max used her powers and he was just kind of using it for fun, which I gotta be real, I feel like that's the case because Max throws around phrases of like, if with Safi, right? When Safi dies, she says things like, well, if I could save you, like if there was a moment that I could do that, which is implying her time travel power, she would do it. In the bowling alley in the beginning of episode 1, if you press on accident or on purpose L2 to reverse time, or at least on PlayStation L2, Max will comment and say like almost something along the lines of she wishes she could, but it's been years and things like that. It just gives off a vibe where she's not too uncomfortable using. So this kind of goes to what I've talked about with Max as a character before, where I was really afraid about just the leap of faith to use powers, right? Because she should know what happens when she uses powers. She should be more careful. She should be smarter than that. I put more value in Max's smarts than I think maybe Deck 9 does because, in that way, in that one way at least. And what this game so far has proven to me in that respect is that she just doesn't care. And that is very disappointing. And that links to the Chloe thing, right? I am pretty upset about some of the stuff that we read and heard where it's like Max kind of throws that stuff around willy-nilly where she very easily could have used her powers in between 1 and double exposure. And I just don't believe in that. For all the talk and all the controversy of like the Star Wars stuff when like Luke turned his back to the Force and Obi-Wan didn't have powers, generally I'm actually kind of against that. I'm actually for that here. I actually would not mind whatsoever if Max turned completely off these powers because this is a more grounded world. This is a world where like Max shouldn't have powers, but she does she didn't ask for them. You know what I mean? So it's like for her to push away her powers after Life is Strange 1 makes sense to me. She should do that. And also, she knows what could happen if she uses her powers. So I know that's a long-winded way of going about this, but I think it all connects because, like, to me, that is the main aspect of this Chloe Max thing. Number one, I would have liked to have seen it. From budgets and things like that. And also, like, they didn't bring back Ashley Birch. They brought back Rihanna, who did Life is Strange Before the Storm. And I think she's a good Chloe, but I feel like that's almost disrespectful, too, because it's like you worked with Ashley Birch in the Farewell episode, and also Ashley Birch is Max's Chloe, right? I would say Rihanna is Rachel's Chloe because of Before the Storm. But you know what? That's how I look at it, where it's like if you're going to have Max and Chloe have these conversations, even if it's like these kind of flashback things, it should be Ashley because that was the pair. And that's okay that it wasn't the pair in Before the Storm. I didn't actually mind it, especially because of the background stuff that happened. But that's the pair for Before the Storm, right? It's not the same thing. So that I almost felt was a little weird too, where it's like, well, you worked with Ashley before. Did she say no? Did you even ask her? And I think it probably just boils down to they didn't really want it to happen. Here's what I would guess I would end this on, and this is probably what makes me the most mad, no matter which side you stand on. Again, I know there's people that don't even like Chloe. I know there's people that chose to sacrifice her and saved Arcadia Bay, and none of this stuff really means anything to those people. But what I would say is this. They come out and they say months ago, right, that both endings are canon, that they will respect both endings. And I can tell you from the bottom, just my personal opinion, bottom of my heart, I truly believe they do not respect both endings. I think they want you to pick the choose Arcadia Bay. Sacrifice Chloe, choose Arcadia. That is their definitive ending. And because they can't actually say that, they have to do both. They're gonna stomp on one of them more than the other. That's just from they could be doing it from like a good place in their heart. They could be doing it not with like an aggressive feel to it. Like if you just look at it from that, right? They're going into this game and they're saying we would really prefer from like the themes of trauma and where we want to go with Max that we choose to get rid of Chloe. Like that is our that's our preferred method. if you do that, I don't know if that's okay, because ultimately I think you should respect both endings, or you shouldn't just make a next game. You ended the first, don't nod, ended the first game on those choices, right? That's it. There's nothing. You either respect both or you don't make a follow-up to Max, because that's something you have to deal with. And I think that is what probably makes me the most upset, at least so far. Like, we haven't seen where this trauma is going to go. In fact, Max hasn't even, there's been very little trauma actually so far. Like, there needs to be more, I think, in episodes 3, 4, 5. But that's kind of where I'm at, is like, if you're going to do this, you need to do it right. You need to do it right by the fans of both sides. And I really think, even with just like not even bringing back Ashley Birch, Chloe and her phone is not even the picture of Chloe. Now, not everybody has pictures, but most of them do. So it's like just those small things kind of add up, where it's like, do you actually respect that? Because just the way you went about it, I would have wanted you to show us them breaking up. I want to be sure what happened between the two. Like, did Max use her powers and Chloe got paranoid that Max would keep using her powers to fix their relationship? Or was Chloe just stuck in the state of, well, I want to move forward and I'm afraid you'll keep moving back. Even if Max wasn't moving back, Chloe thinks that she could, right? Because I think there's something interesting there. I think you can make a relationship story and break them up based off that stuff. But we don't actually know. They're not even like specific about it, because I just don't think they care all that much about it. And I don't know if that's a malicious not caring or just they don't care, right? But and this is like, if they're watching, like, this is no disrespect. I don't hate you. I don't wish, anything bad. I mean, there's people that are kind of crazy and it would go much further than I'm going. I would like to be sure about these things, and I feel in that way disrespected. I feel like it was a very disrespectful way of going about it, and I would have preferred, again, honestly, my way is just showing it. And how I would look at it is like, no, I think what I said originally was I was predicting that Chloe would force Max into doing things. Chloe would say, hey, we need some extra money, like, go do this, or hey, something time travel, and she would push that on Max, and Max would refuse to use the time powers, and that would kind of create this like separation. Now, that's just one way. Trauma, just in general, right? Like, Chloe could say, man, you saved me over saving my mom and saving everybody. Like, I don't know if I can live with that survivor's guilt. And even Max, right? Where it's like, I love you and I saved you versus hundreds of other people. But I can't, every time I look at you, I see them. And that's killing me. Like, we can't do this anymore. That is I think that's good. I mean, maybe I'm just like patting my own back when I shouldn't, but I think there's something there. I think you can legitimately do something with that. But what they did is kind of make it ambiguous. In fact, they almost make it more where it's like Chloe is paranoid that Max is going to use powers, and Max is saying that she won't, and that's kind of it. Chloe wants to move forward, Max isn't moving forward, and that's all there is to it. Even though Chloe in the text, I believe she's the one that doesn't want to move in with Max, even though Max offers. So it's like, where do their priority, like, what are their opinions on things? I don't actually know. That's why I said in my review of episodes 1 and 2, Max, I think, is good when she's on screen. I think what they've done with Max and just her personality, and like they still nailed who Max Caulfield is. I feel like it is Max. But what they did, like, in the lore in between these games, I feel like they've got no idea. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Didn't get as mad as I thought I would. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and hope to see you all on the next one.